Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the world. My name is Gabe Marati, and I'd like to thank all of you avid Telegraph enjoyers for tuning into this line's year in review for the year that was 1849. I hear this year was filled with joy and excitement, so this will surely be a lovely and positive broadcast the entire way through. How about we send it over to our friends in San Francisco and ask them how that gold mining paradise is over there? Take it away, Tom. There's no gold here, Gabe. If people are lucky, they're getting a couple pebbles, but all I'm seeing here is poverty and harassment. This chart depicts the most numerous foreign-born groups in California between 1850 and 1870. Note specifically the population of the Irish between 1850 and 1860. More on that later. Of these people, what they're experiencing is nativism and racism in this country. Unlike ethnic consciousness, nativism and racism were and are more than attitudes, feelings, and thoughts. Rather, they were and often are manifested in action to discriminate against or harm members of other groups. I think our viewers ought to know the truth and see that this gold rush is a scam and should be known by the whole entire world. Well, that's just those crazy Americans for you, folks. Country hasn't even been alive for a century, and they're already working like a true imperial power, oppressing the minorities of the nation. Speaking of the nation, I hear that that famine in Ireland has finally come to a close. Let's go to our reporter in the fields of Western Ireland and see what he has to say. How's the recovery going, Bill? Nothing has changed. The British claim their support systems have saved lives, but nothing can fix the damage that has already been dealt. This tragedy began in 1845 with a fell potato crop, and at the time the British thought they were coming to the rescue by importing maize and cornmeal from the Americas. But even this operation was a sham because the corn laws remained in effect, even during this time of crisis. These laws proclaimed the imposition of heavy duties on imported grain to ensure that it could never be cheaper than homegrown produce. Then, in 1847, after the famine had already been running rampant for 2 full years, the House of Parliament finally spoke of this issue, where the Marquess of Lansdowne characterized it as the greatest calamity with respect to that part of the United Kingdom which has ever fallen upon any country described in the history of civilized Europe. One might assume that the extent of this calamity struck him due to the severe loss of life and conditions he had learned about over the past 2 years, and that would be the reason for him to stand and provide this motion for Parliament. In actuality, the first distress that the Marquess of Lansdowne uttered regarding the situation was that this would be a severe deficit in money due to the failure of the crop. You can see for yourself on the right side of this page, taken from the 1847 parliamentary debates, just how little he cared for the Irish as a people, turning their terror into monetary terms. Britain has no idea the scope of this disaster. Over 1 million people will be left dead by the time this is all said and done, and 1 million more will have emigrated just to save themselves from starving. This political cartoon perfectly encapsulates how the Irish felt the British aided them during and after the famine. Jane Francesca Wilde was able to powerfully capture the feelings the Irish public hold towards Britain. In her poem, The Famine Year, Wilde connects the Irish strife to religious hope, stating that God will take vengeance for the souls for whom Christ died. Now is your hour of pleasure. Bask ye in the world's caress. Britain has left this land hungry, deserted, and destroyed. I think our viewers ought to know the truth and see that the Irish famine is still running rampant and will still kill thousands for years to come and should be known by the whole world. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the year 1849? The gold rush? The beloved San Francisco 49ers named after the year? Positive things, right? What if I were to tell you the year 1849 marked the end of an event that crippled a nation for generations to come and subsequently left the world changed forever? Before the famine began in 1845, Ireland had a population of about 8 million. After the famine, over 1 million were left dead and another 1 million were forced to emigrate, resulting in a depopulation that did not stop declining until 1951. Although literature provided a means of hope for a better future, Ultimately, the year 1849 marked when the world changed when Britain failed to provide meaningful support for the dying Irish.